Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fabulous Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining me. Today I get to share a project with you. We're going to make another Christmas card, and this one's going to be sweet. We're using a few brand new items over at the C&CT Stamp Shop. This is part of their latest release. The latest release is called Cozy Hugs, and there are some fun new elements that I get to share with you. This is the Merry Word die set. It's a two-piece die set. And this is great on its own, but it's also great for secondary sentiments. And we're going to pair this one. This is a two-piece. Let's go ahead and separate this. You can keep it together if you want, but if you separate it, you have the shadow and then you have the sentiment. And what I love is the sentiment is one piece, so you don't have to figure out your placement. C&CT Stamp does that for you because it's all one piece. So you have the shadow and the outline of the Mary. Okay, now I mentioned secondary sentiments, and this is a great stamp set for that. This is new too. This is called Simple Holiday Greetings. There are a lot of block letters in here, and there's enough spacing between them if you wanted to separate them. So if you want, you see Season's Greetings, if you wanted to stamp it and trim it in half, you could put Merry Greetings if you wanted to, or Christmas. There is a separate Christmas down here. We're going to be using that for our card, but they're sending you holiday hugs, and you could separate these two, put sending you Merry holiday hugs. I think that would be adorable. But this is called the Simple Holiday Greetings. They're all block letters. We're going to be using this in our project, and we are going to create a background with a brand new fun stencil. This is called the Layered Peppermints. You know, I love candies. I love anything sweet. I think cards with sweets on them just make me smile, make me happy. But this is a two-piece layering set. You have the outline of the candies, and then you have the detail layer of the candies. This is great for coloring in with your ink blending on here, and then this would be great, since the detail layers are a little bit on the smaller side. This would be great to add some moonshine, some Nouveau glitter dust, or any kind of sparkle behind it. We're not going to do that because we're going to create a shaker. So we're just going to use these with our inks. And speaking of inks, I have a couple colors that I think would be great for our project today. I have Mowed Lawn, Candied Apple, Kitsch Flamingo, and Salvage Patina. I might bring in a little bit of squeezed lemonade to make my Mowed Lawn a little bit brighter, but we'll see how it goes. Let's start by doing a little bit of stenciling. We'll put everything else off to the side. And you know, I think I'm going to flip. Are these indexed? These are indexed. They have Simon's name on the bottom here and here, so you know what's right side up. I'm going to flip them around. Go ahead and take my Pixie Spray. Pixie Spray is a low tack adhesive. If you guys haven't tried this yet, it's a game changer. I have one of my Simon boxes. We're just going to add our stencil to it and do a little spraying. I'll do the same to the other stencil. This way we don't have to add tape when we do our stenciling. I'm going to use my blending brushes to color in my images because I want a whole bunch of different colors. And so I have a panel that is 6 by 6. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And we're going to start with our first layer. And I'm going to make sure I find that C&CT Stamp name on the very bottom. And we'll line this up in the bottom left corner. When I do my stenciling, I always like to do a 6 by 6 panel, especially with layering, because you can't go wrong with the placement. That's the best thing about it. Let's start. I'm going to be using my Spellbinders blending brushes. These are smaller than my Gina K brushes, and I like that. Some of my ink will be overlapping. I'm not going to be picky on the overlapping. We're going to ink up first with Mowed Lawn. Let me go on the back side, see what color this is. I think Modon's pretty bright. So let's try this first. And I think we're going to go over just the circle portions of our stencil with Mowed Lawn. Okay, I think I'm just about done with our Mowed Lawn, and I think that's pretty bright, which is nice. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I did start to color in one of the candies that had the wrapper edges, so I might have to trim that away. We'll see. After we have our Mowed Lawn, we're going to bring in, let's bring in our Kitsch Flamingo. Such a pretty color. This says candy to me. And I'm going to go over our candies with this. Before I go any further, I'm going to wipe away my Mowed Lawn for my stencil. And when I wipe it away, I just like to leave my stencil on my cardstock. And then it's easier to go over our candies with wrappers. Okay, I have all of my candy with the wrappers colored in. I'm going to use my towel and just wipe away the ink from there. And then I'm going to use my salvage patina, and we're going to go over the larger, there's two different, what we have left are some circles. I would say medium and then tiny. I'm going to go over the medium circles with my salvage patina here. And then our last color is Candied Apple. Instead of using a blending brush, since these circles, you can see here, are kind of on the smaller side, we're going to use a finger dauber. So I'm taking my Candied Apple, and we're going to pick up a little bit of our Candied Apple and go over those small. And those are the small candies. Let's go ahead and wipe off our stencil now. You know, they have a brand new color that I had just ordered, and I'm excited to try that one. And I think the brand new, I forget what the color name is, but the Distress Oxide ink that Tim Holtz just came out with would go perfect with this pattern on this card. And I'll link that one down below. Simon might have still some in stock. Let's go ahead and remove our stencil now. Love this. And since we wiped it off while it was still on our cardstock, we don't have to clean our stencil. I'm actually going to place this on the packaging. And then we'll bring in layer number 2. I'm going to find that imprint, where it's indexed that says Simon Says Stamp, line it up in the corner. Oh, how fun is this? And we're going to place it right over the top. Now's the fun part. We're going to bring back our Candied Apple. Since we used our finger dauber, I'm going to take this and we're going to go over the candy that has the wrapper and add a little color to each one of those wrappered candies. And then I'm going to go over each one of the smaller, I need it slightly darker. Let's see if we can find a brown ink for those smaller candies. Actually, I think we're going to go over the smaller candies with aged mahogany. This way it will show up. So let's clean off our stencil. Okay, I went over all of our smaller candies with that extra ink I brought in, that aged mahogany. And we're going to wipe this off now. For our green candies, I'm going to use salvage patina and go over. Let's use a finger dauber for these too. Since the detail area in this is a little bit more detailed, we're going to use finger daubers for the green candies. And we're just going to add some salvage patina swirls. And I think I got them all. We're going to set aside our inks, wipe off the excess. I've mentioned this before, but I just think it's so much easier cleaning off your stencil while it's on your paper. I guess because with the pixie spray it's tacked down. Our background, are you ready for the reveal? Let's go ahead. I'm not going to zoom out just yet because I wanted you to see. There are our fun candies. How cute is that? Oh my goodness, just adorable. Love it. And again, we don't have to clean off our stencil because we did it while it was on the cardstock. And I have some pink sand cardstock. This is Spellbinder's pink sand. I want to do a little ink blending on the very bottom of this because I want my mirror. Maybe we should do it before or after. Maybe we'll do it before. But I want to add a little bit of a color gradient with red and pink on my Mary. So I'm going to add a little bit of my candied apple, kind of fade up. I'm going to keep it out because I might have to do it again. And then I'm going to take my Mary and I'm going to place it to where definite pink is on the top and then a little bit of that red is on the bottom. I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. So there's our Mary and our outline. We're going to go ahead and glue all of these together. Once we have all three stacked together, we're going to go ahead and finish it off by adding a little glue and attaching our colored Mary to the white ones. And there's our sentiment all ready. For our background panel that we created, I'm going to create a background panel, and to do that I'm going to bring in my rounded rectangle double stitched dies. I'm going to take the second to the largest and I'm going to, that one kind of filled in, let me show you. Kind of went crazy with that one. So I want to find a good spot for this. But when I cut this out, I'm also want to make sure that I have a couple full candies because I'm going to fussy cut these out. Maybe. So there is my background panel filled with lovely candies. And I'm going to keep this die out because I have a A2 panel of white cardstock. I'm going to create a window. I mentioned we're going to make a shaker, but I want to create a window using the rounded. Okay, I went ahead and created my window. You can see here. It's going to work out great, and it's going to work perfectly together here. And I did fussy cut out one of my candies from the leftover piece, and I think I want a green one too. So instead of fussy cutting, you can use your scissors and fussy cut around it. That's what I do with the candy. I have a punch that's going to fit around here perfectly. It is going to leave a little bit of a white border. I think this is a 3/4 inch punch. You love punches. I'm going to keep that too. So there we have a couple candies. And if you wanted to go even further and cut one more out, you can, but I think 2 is the perfect amount. Let's build a shaker. I love the colors of this, don't you? We're going to take our frame we created, flip it around. I'm going to use my tape runner, and I'm going to add adhesive all along the outside edge. And then I have a piece of acetate that I'm going to cover it with, like so. And then using some foam tape, I'm going to go around the edges. Now, I'm not using traditional glitter. I'm using something that's called shaved ice. It's from Stampendous. I've used this before and I love it. I'm pretty sure that Simon has it in their store, and I'll link it down below. But it's called shaved ice. I'll show you in a minute. And I have inky fingers. I always just like to do 1 layer of foam adhesive, but if you wanted to do 2, you very well could. Now, after the release paper is removed, I'm going to adhere my background. I should have did this first. I should have actually adhered this before I added my foam adhesive. This way I can perfectly get this centered. And not centered, but lined up. let's see what this does. I'm going to just use my tape runner and eyeball it. And I think it's pretty good. Oh. So I'll tack this down. And then what we're going to do is the fun part. I mentioned shaved ice. This is what it looks like. Love this stuff. It's light and fluffy. It does make a mess though, you can see. But I love the iridescent tint to it. And it doesn't take away from our candies. So I'm adding a little bit of shaved ice over my candy background. I'll take my window. We'll tack this down. There might be some static to it, but since this is an A2 panel, I can just line it up over my card base, tack it down. And again, if you wanted to double up, you can. But then I'm going to tap it so it drops. I love the way this looks because this reminds me of candy wrappers. We have our Mary. I'm not going to add any foam adhesive behind it because we have that dimension by all those layers. Let's go ahead and use our tape. I'm going to tape this down, and I'm going to go a little bit up the halfway mark. Maybe our bottom of the Mary is right in the halfway mark here. And then I'm glad I did this. I did fussy cut that one candy out, and then I also punched out the other one. I'm glad I did that because we're going to add a few extra little candies. Cute as that. Now, since we have sparkle on the inside, I think we should match the sparkle on the outside. So for that, I want to bring in some diamond stickles. And I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle to the darker green. It's kind of turning neon, which is nice. And I'm going to go over our candied apple too. Now, while our stickles, our diamond stickles are drying, we're going to finish off our sentiment. I'm bringing in the new Simple Holiday Greetings. I mentioned the Christmas down here. Okay, I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool and go over some green cardstock. And I haven't heat embossed in a while, so I'm going to use my Versamark ink. We'll go over our Christmas. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this. And then we're going to use some white embossing powder. I'm going to melt it with my heat gun, and then I'm going to trim this into a strip. Let's trim off the ends. For me, believe it or not, trimming these straight, trimming the ends straight is a difficult job for me. I like to use my paper trimmer for that. I have some strips left over from when we created that shaker, so I'm going to trim it down. We'll put our foam tape behind our Christmas sentiment. And then I'm going to remove the release paper. We'll add this under our sentiment here. Okay, so we have our sentiment now. I'm going to add a few gems too. This is the Spellbinders Crystal Mix. And there is some almost clear ones, and then there's the more iridescent ones. I'm going to add just a few of the gems on top of that acetate. Okay, just a couple. I put 5 in total, 3 over here and then 2 over here. And that will finish my card today. This is a shaker that kind of doesn't shake, but I love candies at Christmas. I think it's so festive. Thanks for joining me. If you haven't had a chance to check out Simon Says Stamp's Cozy Hugs release, I'll leave the entire release down below and you can head on over. A lot of fun new items at the Simon shop. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.